A character in this novel gets a piece of Parmesan cheese from Dr. Livesey's snuff box in exchange for his help. In this novel, Dick Johnson tears a page from a Bible to make a black spot, and Billy Bones tells Jim Hawkins to look out for the cook aboard the Hispaniola. For 10 points, name this novel about Long John Silver's search for Captain Kidd's treasure, written by Robert Louis Stevenson. And the answer is Treasure Island. This work's protagonist falls in love with Yugao, who is killed by the spirit of one of his mistresses. This novel's title character falls in love with Lady Fujitsubo due to her resemblance to his mother. Murasaki Shikibu wrote, for 10 points, what early Japanese novel about the adventures of an egotistical, shining prince? And the answer is The Tale of Genji. This author wrote a series of letters written under the name Jonathan Oldstyle. One of this man's title characters thinks he hears thunder in the Catskill Mountains, but it turns out to be men playing ninepins. In another short story by this author, Brom Bones wins the heart of Katrina Van Tassel when Ichabod Crane vanishes. The Headless Horseman was created by, for 10 points, what author of the stories Rip Van Winkle and The Legend of Sleepy Hollow? And the answer is Washington Irving. A character in this play describes himself as constant as the North Star after being asked to repeal Cimber's banishment. A funeral speech in this play begins, "Friends, Romans, countrymen, lend me your ears," and mocks the title statesman's killer, Brutus. For 10 points, identify this Shakespeare tragedy about the death of a Roman emperor. And the answer is The Tragedy of Julius Caesar. This poet of birches wrote a poem in which my little horse must think queer to stop in the title place, and said, I have promises to keep and miles to go before I sleep in Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening. Two roads diverged in a yellow wood is another poem by this American poet. For 10 points, name this poet of Fire and Ice and The Road Not Taken. And the answer is Robert Lee Frost. In this work, a ship's crew is cursed after they kill cattle belonging to Helios in an effort to get past a whirlpool, and Laertes' daughter-in-law repeatedly weaves and unravels a burial shroud. Penelope is reunited with her husband in this epic poem after he gets past Scylla, Charybdis, and Sirens to return to Ithaca. For 10 points, name this epic poem by Homer in which a namesake king returns home after the Trojan War. And the answer is the Odyssey. This novel's protagonist visits a grave near Brocklebridge Church 15 years after her friend dies at Lowood School. This novel's protagonist is locked up as a child by Sarah Reed and comforts her future husband after Grace Poole's charge, Bertha Mason, burns down Thornfield Hall. For 10 points, name this Charlotte Bronte novel in which the title woman marries Mr. Rochester. And the answer is Jane Eyre. This country's 4 classics include the novels Water Margin and a novel in which the Monkey King is trapped under a mountain by the Buddha titled Journey to the West. Romance of the Three Kingdoms is from this nation, home to the poet Li Po. For 10 points, name this large Asian nation whose Tang dynasty was known as its Golden Age. And the answer is the People's Republic of China. In the Arabian Nights, Sinbad collects diamonds from an island inhabited by enormous ones of these animals called rocs, and later steals one of their eggs. Chanticleer is one of these creatures in French folklore, and a mythical animal of this type is a phoenix. For 10 points, name this family of animals exemplified by Chicken Little. And the answer is birds. In a story by this author, The Lass of Aughrim is sung while Greta Conroy reminisces about Michael Fury. In a novel by this man, Blazes Boylan has an affair with Molly, the wife of Leopold Bloom, who represents the title hero of this man's stream of consciousness novel Ulysses. For 10 points, The Dead is a story from Dubliners, a collection by what Irish author? And the answer is James Joyce.